Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, modelers and people of distinction. Today, we're going to be looking at a whistle-stop trains haul. I'm going to be sitting down at a desk to go over the many things I have here. We'll actually use the washer and dryer, and then we'll see these run. Or better yet, I'll just do a video like this, and we'll go from there. I will see you when we start. Okay, welcome to the first thing that we're going to look at. A stack of containers. So here is the first one we have, which is this nice big evergreen container. And if you notice, it's one of the few things I'm actually doing as part of my railroad, the Oregon Coast and Central. Where, yeah, we do handle container freights. But we don't do these great big containers as much. All these little containers are what we work with. So first we have this Compass Container Company's dark blue container. We have these two Hamburg Sud containers. A little Showa light blue Estates Marines Lines container. And a regular Genstar container. Which, okay, I mean, I'm not going to complain. Containers are containers, and small containers, I feel like they're going to have a lot more charm and character than, say, something great big. Do I like great big containers at times? Yes and no. And I'm going to be honest, those smaller containers, I feel like you see them, but they're like rare. As in, you can see one, but good luck seeing any more within, 30 years of your life. Other times, people are like, okay, they're great. Perfect, we've seen tons of them. We never see a big one, we see only little ones. In all honesty, it depends on what you want. So, I'm going to leave this part alone. And I'm going to move on to the rolling stock, i.e. the freight cars. Okay, my ladies and gentlemen, this is now the rolling stock section. And what I'm going to do is put the camera down, and we're going to start looking at these cars one at a time. I'm going to basically work in a reverse U. Starting with one of the biggest freight cars I actually own. Come on, camera. There we go-ish. This is a Tangent 86-foot high cube boxcar in chassis system livery. I will do an unboxing portion. After I do this, these cars were basically made during the 1960s and were primarily used for auto parts, which is good. If you have an auto parts train, I would highly recommend it. If you just want something that looks good, it can be easily switched around in a yard, this is also perfect. This is your friend. If you just want something for a general freight train, once again, this is your friend. Our next car is another long boy. This is a trash trailer, or a trash con. These are basically what you would see running around modern day that pick up garbage and take it to garbage facilities where the garbage can be sorted out into the paper, the plastics, food waste, stuff like that. And I wouldn't be remiss saying that having one or two of these on your railway is a good idea. Namely because what I see is that people will do just these guys alone as one train. But I've seen these also mixed into general freight workings and a number of other trains. And I would also recommend it if you just want to have a one-car train, and one box car, one tank car, one coal car, one whatever car seems a little too bland and boring. I would recommend one of these guys. And speaking of recommendation, a little container train car, little well car with, guess what, a container. If you just are doing like a short line or a small regional railroad, I would recommend these just because that's what short lines and some short lines and some regional railroads have done. And yes, I got that because, like the other two, I just want stuff that's fancy and unique. I don't want something that's going to be sitting here going, oh my god, it just sits there in a siding. No. This is stuff that's going to be pulled around by steam engines, diesel engines, electrics, you name it. Speaking of, now here's an empty well car. So that giant evergreen container you saw, it's going to go in here. Once again, I would recommend getting maybe a few empties and just grab a few containers and be like, okay, this is good. Then that way you're not going around, or yeah, like Europe, they put them on flatbeds. US, we use well cars. Same thing. Canada does a mix of well cars and flatbeds. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting a container on a flatbed. You're just going to draw a lot of heads, and a lot of times people are going to be having a wibble. Oh, that's not right. But this, once again, just for the railroad. And speaking just for the railroad, an Erie Lackawanna Sioux Line Combine trailer flatbed. Now, this is something I would have never seen. And here's the thing. Stuff like this, I'm not a big fan of, but in this condition where it's got two things, Erie Lackawanna and the Sioux Line, which are two roads I kind of grew up reading books about, it made sense. It's also just charming and quirky in its own little way, which I do recommend. You may think, oh, just charming and quirky is bad. No. Now, these two are one and the same, so I have two gondolas, and these are going to be used for general purpose things like crates, containers, scrap, logs, you name it. I highly recommend stuff like this, and gondolas are some of the more common cars, and a lot of people are going to go, oh, but that's a bad move. No, it isn't. A lot of railroads, you look at a lot of railroads, they have gondolas. And sometimes you gotta balance out your quirky with your sensible. And here's another car I have. Flat car with crates. Once again, this is quirky, but it's also believable. Take that, take the crates off, put them in a gondola, put them with a giant container. You're square to go. And guess what? Something like this, I would not be remiss in seeing. And it's got its own little charm, features, and characters. And that's something I'm going to tell you right now. If what you're doing is just what we call a standard, basically, it doesn't really scream of anything unique. You're just sitting here going, oh, yes, I got everything that's simple. Then why are you model railroading? Model railroading should be something with character, with charm, with passion. Now, big mainline railroads, yeah, you can get that, but when it's the same thing over and over and over again, that charm and that passion just goes away quicker than money out of a bank account. And speaking of charming and quirky, this is the Christmas Atlas covered hopper. I love stuff like this. It adds just so much to the bottle. When you have something like this, oh baby does it go off well. And also Christmas, a lot of people, what could you be shipping in a covered hopper that could be tied to Christmas? Oats for like oatmeal, flour to make cakes and pies. Stuff that people traditionally tie with Christmas. You have a Christmas pie or a Christmas cake. You have the Christmas bread, the Christmas fruit cake, whatever. And also, just leaving it like that, you can make this joke, damn taggers, over and over again. You could just say, damn taggers, damn taggers, damn taggers. It'd be like, we're not going to clean it up. Leave it as is. And it adds so much more. And now the last freight car. Rock Island Gondola. Once again, it's a generic gondola. Everybody and their brother. Oh my god, a generic gondola. I can't believe there's losers recommending it. Well, once again, back to the issue of sometimes the quirky freight trains aren't going to be the thing that pays the bills for your railroad. And a good model railroader knows this. A good model railroader will take that into account. Just because you sorry about that. Just because you have, the T1 duplex doesn't mean it's going to be a 100% home run. Sometimes you're going to need a GP38 or Pennsylvania M1B Mountain or New York Central Hudson. Something bread and butter, generic, background working, where everyone's like, oh, I've seen a million of them there engines. And that's the thing. Stuff like this, there's a million of them flying about. And, not everything needs to be this fancy, quirky, crazy thing just because you want it that way. Now, I'm going to end the recording of this session with the... Okay, I have now done the freight cars. But you think I'm going to run the freight cars without something? Without machines that are meant to pull them? Ladies and gentlemen, bow your heads in shame, for I am not that crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you the Shoeline GP 35. Smaller version of the GP 38. And I will say this. Something like this will fit what I'm doing. Because the GP35s were a common sight, but now, they're going bye-bye. They're waving bye-bye. They're going the way of the steam engine, the stagecoach, and the dinosaur. And the early Gen 1 diesels, of course. And to be honest, having something like this, I feel it's going to add just so much more charm to the model railway scene. A lot of people don't like them. They're not a GP38, they're not a Jeep 40. They're not tunnel motors, they're not the Dash 8s, Dash 9s, SD70 Aces, SD70 Max, stuff like that. But here's the thing. Oftentimes, it's the overlooked engines that are going to make the biggest impact on your hobby. They're going to be the ones that are going to turn the most heads. They say never overlook a little engine. Well, never overlook a classic engine. And speaking of classic engines never to overlook, this is a fantasy schemed VNSF painted CF7. CF7s actually never wore that livery. And these are small, freight diesels. And something like this, I would highly recommend. Same thing with, the GP35. Having something like this, just to stand out in a sea of normal engines, you have your RS1s, 2s, 3s, so on down the list. You have your GP38s, 40s, stuff like that. Apologies for the niece being loud. You have all this stuff, and this thing's gonna stick out like a sore thumb in a garden. I swear to God. This thing will stick out like a sore thumb in a garden. And when I say it sticks out like a sore thumb in a garden, you have your GP38s. Those are your strawberries. You have your Jeep 40s. Those are your tomatoes, or however you want to pronounce it. You have your SD90s. Those are your apples. You have your SD70s. Those are your oranges. You have your SD80s. Those are your tangerines. And then here's this thing. The eggplant. This thing just sticks right out there. And you're looking like, I didn't plant any eggplant. Did I? I didn't plant any, durians or starfruit. I didn't plant a kiwi. Ugh. But all of a sudden you start to realize this thing is beautiful in its own right. It's like you cook up an eggplant. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our second engine in the roster. Yes, I have 3 locomotives to handle all this stuff. But our second locomotive in the roster is a little BNSF fantasy liveried CF7. This, my friends, is one of the smaller freight diesels. Now, you may be going and looking at that thing and going, my God, it's ugly. But here's the thing about these engines. Also, sorry about the smacking and popping. Just because this is a small, awkward-looking diesel that sticks out like a sore thumb in a garden, does not mean it performs like a sore thumb in a garden. In fact, if anything, this engine is going to be more reliable. Sure, you may have your SD80s, SD70s, SD60s. You may have your Dash 8s and 9s, your Jeep 38s, 40s, and RSs out the wazoo, as well as SW1000s, SW1200s, you name it. This thing, like I said, it's going to stay among your tomatoes, potatoes, apples, oranges, tangerines, cucumbers, lettuce, carrots, bananas, coconuts, everything. This is going to be the eggplant. This is going to be that one thing you don't want to grow. You look at it and go, why did I plant that? But then you start to use it in a recipe. You munch on it as a snack. First few times it's like, oh God, why? But then as you start to move forward, it becomes more and more of this. Oh, this is actually really good. I'd never thought of these applications before. I never saw a use for this stuff before. And now we have a use for it in every railroad. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all I can ask. Never overlook a little engine, they say. But you know what? The little guy can be just as potent as the big guy. You know, they'll carry on till the work is over. They'll carry on till the end. They may be the smallest in the station, but don't overestimate them. And now, my lovely lumpies and germs, as Catechirus would say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of every age of the circus known as life, we come to the pièce de résistance of the railway. This, my friends, is the SDL 39, otherwise known as one of the smallest mainline diesels out there. This is a legendary scale trains, a locomotive. And my dear, dear friends, I will lift the camera. So here, this is the operator's manual. You can kind of see the locomotive in these orange outlines of the manual. But you know what? If this box will gently pop out, That is the locomotive right there. And I will tell you, it may be a small diesel. And they may not be around anymore, but you know what? You damn well will find this thing entertaining. Why? Because, one, it's a small boy. Two, it is one of the more charming diesels I've seen. And three, when I say you will enjoy this, a lot of people I know, when I say you will enjoy these odd locomotives, go, oh yeah, and then all of a sudden they see this thing running around with a freight train. And before they know it, where do I get one? I love wood just so. Where is it? How do I get one? These engines, believe it or not, only 10 of them were built by EMD for the Milwaukee Road in 1969. Hey! And yeah, I'm just reading a little bit of history in the box. They worked in the upper Midwest and were eventually owned by Sioux Line, Wisconsin Central, and the FEPASA in Chile. And they were basically built to service branch lines that had weight restrictions. So, much like how tank engines worked branch lines in the UK, like how Thomas and Edward would work their branch lines on the island of Sodor, and how mainline engines can't run on there due to the track and bridges not being as strong as those on the main line. These things, same principle. And for a short line railroad, any short line railroad, this thing is going to be a lifesaver. I guarantee it. If you find one in Sioux or any other livery, and you need something for your short line, I'm going to tell you right now, grab it. Don't just sit around on it and go, maybe, mommy. No. Most hobby shops will tell you this thing is fit for your branch line, your short line. They are lightweight, but heavy-duty engines. Also, this engine comes featured with a pin. A very commemorative, special pin. But, for me, this engine was something I really wanted. It added just so much to the main line. Because I have a Dash 8, I have GP38s, I have an SD40X, I have steam engines, I have one electric, an E33, and I have just about every Alco RS under the sun that I want. But this was just, it's things like this that make me happy to be a model railroader. It's things like this. It's engines like this. It's engines like the CF7. It's freight cars like what you've seen. That make the hobby worth it all. Sure, you may have your Union Pacific Mojave subdivision, guys. You may have your Brooklyn subdivision. Guys, it doesn't matter. Do what you want in the hobby. And for me, this is what I want. This is an engine I love. This is an engine that screams, "Run me, Daddy! Run me!" So, my dear friends, what will I be doing next? There will be a follow-up video to this that shows me unboxing everything and going over each and every engine and freight car in great detail. And then there will be a third video that shows each engine running freight trains. I'm gonna have a quick bite, and then I will work on the unboxing video. Going to put all my things together in one location. After all, there are 3 words. When you're doing something like this, there are 3 words everyone needs to know. Location, location, location. Now, I bid you adieu. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the unboxing video as I promised. So we're going to start appropriately, not with knocking the camera over, but with our Line 35. Oh, yes, please. You know, and something like this is an engine that is, well, worth having. It's a diesel that I really feel adds just so much to the railway. And a Jeep 35 is a good little engine to have. Good for switching, mainline work, branch line work, you name it. The next engine we have is our CF7. Brand new out of box, never been run before. In BNSF colors. Let me get the foam padding out. Yes, I have the Runaway Pumpkin patch now. You know, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, these diesels, but you know what? That's okay. Model railroading is not meant to be the end-all, be-all. You guys all share the same love and affection to the hobby. But stuff like this, for me, it screams branch line. It screams traffic. And speaking of screaming traffic, the next engine up, our SDL 39. I'm going to leave the pin alone. And once again, it's one of those diesels that a lot of people are going to shun because it's not modern enough, but at the same time, people are going to also complain that they don't have anything for their light branch line trains. They're going to look around and look at all these people who have these engines, and then they're going to complain that the branch lines that they built and that they're running have no locomotive. But they scorn this little beauty. And I think that's going to come back to bite them. That's what's going to be the thing. That's going to be the deciding factor. Our next box. This is just one of these Bachmann Great Northern Gonds. And yeah, sure, they may be small little gondolas. But here's the thing. like with the Jeep, like with the SDL 39s and Jeeps and all that, just because it's standard when you're trying to do a quirky road doesn't mean it's bad. You know, the gondola is one of the most multifaceted of freight wagons in the world of bottles. And I'm going to tell you right now, just having some of those have saved my life. On more than one occasion. And I'm going to tell you right now, letting those things save my life was good. Damn. I have sinus issues. I have a second one, so... Will you not roll away? Thank you. Our next freight car is the Rock Island Gondola. And once again, like I said, just because it's a generic freight car doesn't mean it's a bad freight car. A lot of people will complain that generic means bad. But that's not the case. Just because it's generic, you've seen a million of them, doesn't mean it can't serve you and your railroad at all. One of my friends told me this. He said, and I quote when I said, "Oh, gondolas, they're just way too generic for my liking." He said, and I quote, "Just because it's generic doesn't mean that in a pinch it won't come out and help you. It can save your life." And they were right. And now we move on to, well, our empty boy, the Husky Stacker. And once again, just because it's a generic, everyday, sorry about that. Once again, just because it's a generic, everyday freight car doesn't mean it's bad. What people need to do is they need to define, you need to define bad for yourself, essentially, in this hobby. You need to define what's good and what's bad. You need to define what will and won't work. The more you let somebody else line draw and define for you, the more you've lost yourself to the public, to what the hobbyists, to what the guys who spend 40 hours a week modeling in their basement are telling you. Once again, you have to define bad yourself. This is the loaded one. And once again, I like these things. And are they bad? No! I don't define bad by what I do and what I don't like. How do you define bad then, if it's not by what you do and don't like? How do you define bad? You define it by performance. You define it by the paint scheme. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean that everybody else in God's green earth has to follow the same footsteps. And now we move on to the trash. I'm gonna have to pull this one up and kind of keep it off camera for right this second. Not because I don't like you guys, but because it's got a lot of stuff that requires me to slide it around. The containers are separate to the main freight car body. I'm gonna have a friend help me put this together. Or I'm gonna try to put it together tonight. Have a kitty cat watching me because the little cat likes when I do stuff like this. But once again, a trash car. Yeah, it's generic, and oh, it's got Southern Pacific on the side on the containers. Okay. So it's generic in that everyone and their brother, dog, cat, wolf, golem, goblin, whatever, they've seen it. But it's got a unique thing on it. That's gotta count for something. Right? Well, yes and no. Yes, you're right that it's unique, but no, that doesn't count for something just because you say it counts for something. If it's not going to add what I call the CNC to the railway, your charm and character, then why did you get it? Like, seriously, why? You know, you can't just expect stuff to just say, oh, I've got charming character, and then it pisses off at a billion miles of, well, screw you. Same thing here with this guy. Our Sioux Line trailers. that just because everything looks so clever, unique, whatever, I'm just doing this way so I don't break everything. Doesn't mean that it always is, always will be. A lot of people will tell you the same thing. Just because something's clever and unique doesn't mean it's good. Got a piece of track here. This guy can sit on top of that for right now. But once again, things like these right here that I've already unboxed, this is all character. This is stuff that I would expect, you know, a guy going out of the way to have. We've got 3 more cars to unbox. Lumpies and germs, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Steam engines, diesel engines, Alfred E. Perlman of heaven, or is it hell? We're gonna do this. I'm gonna do the last 3 kind of in a crummy handheld way. That chassis system boxcar, B&O Lines, Baltimore, Ohio. When the Chesapeake and Ohio went into the Baltimore, Ohio, and later became part of CSX. I think CSX. I want to say that they went into Conrail first, then became part of CSX. I could be wrong. Please, correct me in the comments. I want to be wrong. I want you to tell me, hey, you got a bit of history wrong. That's good. Our next car to unbox. Here is this guy. Old Kris Kringle. Also, sorry if I'm going in and out with the camera in hand. I'm trying to get these cars all out. Because I'm going to put these on the layout to get them running. But something like that, where it's Christmassy. It's very much a matter of, it looks clever, it looks cool, and oh, I want to just die happy. Be looking at it? Yeah. That's what I want. And it's something like that. See, this is a stock standard car, but even just stock standard freight cars can have something clever added to them to make them stand out in a sea of normal. Sorry, got the word normal stuck in my throat. And now, ladies and gents, our very last car. Yeah. Yes, please. And once again, a thing like this, it's going to add just so much more character to your layout. And just because it looks so odd, it doesn't mean it's bad. If anything, all of this is stuff I would recommend you have. Now, I'm going to take this out to the layout, set it up so it can run around behind each and every engine, and I could do various shunting and freight train clips. I will see you in that video. This unboxing video has been 19 minutes of hell for my fingers and me babbling and explaining, so I'm hoping to have at least 8 to 20 minutes of shunting and freight car work. I'll see you in that video. Bye. So, to recap all that came from Whistle, the gondolas, the containers, CF7, the huge box car here, these 2 container flats with one that automatically came with a container, one that didn't. I added the container, that trailer train, that flatbed with the crates, the Christmas covered hopper, the trash car, SDL39, and GP15. Now, are these all engines? Now, do I highly recommend using Whistle Stop if you're ever in Oregon? Yes, they have a great selection. On top of that, friendly prices, and on top of that, friendly staff. Honestly, I could practically live in that store if I really wanted to. Most of my collection, aside from the UK, came from Whistle. And I'm going to tell you right now, anytime I've bought from Whistle, the only 3 diesels over there that didn't are the BNSF Smurf unit diesels and the Dash 8. But everything else, even these cars here, some of those, all of that, and all of those, all are Whistle product. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's a fun shop. I would recommend going there, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm happy. Happy with this all. And you know what? I think I'll do this as one massive video. I just broke it up into sections where you can see each engine running around and doing like 1 or 2 or 3 things. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Maybe where I talk about the layout itself in whole, but I don't know yet. And talk about my railroad as a whole. So, yep, I'll see you around. Bye-bye.